Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to teach you guys how to play the traditional classic Irish tune Danny Boy, also known as Londonderry Air. The melody was written before the lyrics were. The melody is called Londonderry Air, and then the lyrics were added later and it became the well-known song that we know today as Danny Boy. This tune is absolutely beautiful, so I wanted to create a mandolin arrangement of this song that you guys can play. This is beginner to intermediate. It does have a bar chord, it has a hammer on, it has some double stops. So if you've never played any of those things before, then here's your chance. They're not too difficult, though it might take just some practice, as always, to get this up to tempo, to get it sounding good, but I will walk you through it. Go ahead, grab your mandolins, download the sheet music and tablature, which you will find at the link down in the description, and let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, whenever I'm learning something new, I think it's so helpful to listen to it first, even if you have the sheet music. In fact, what I would recommend you do is that you go listen to me play this arrangement while following along with the sheet music. That is super, super beneficial, and it's super helpful to just get the tune in your ear before you even start to try to play it. I'll have chapters at the bottom of this video, so if you scroll all the way to the end, there will be a full playthrough of this song up to speed. So go listen to that and then come back here and I'll walk you through the steps on how to play it. As you can tell from the sheet music, we have two sharps in this song, F sharp and C sharp. What that tells us is that any Fs, any Cs, doesn't matter where they are. If you see an F, if you see a C, it's gonna be sharp unless the music dictates otherwise. That's super important to know. The other important thing to know is the time signature, which is how many beats we have in a measure. In this song, we are in the time signature of 4/4, which means that we have 4 quarter notes in every single measure. This arrangement also has a tiny bit of shifting, and I do have all of the fingerings written in the music. So pay close attention as you're following along, because there will be tiny little numbers that will tell you what finger you're supposed to be using to play each note. And if there's not a finger by the note, it means that it's in standard first position. That means that your first finger is going to cover the first 2 frets, second finger will cover 3rd and 4th frets, third finger will cover 5th and 6th frets, and then you've got your open strings. Starting off, we have what's called a pickup measure. A pickup measure normally has notes that are leading you into the downbeat of the first full measure of the song. So the pickup measure is not a full measure. It's normally only a beat or 2 beats long. In this case, we have 3/8 notes, which makes it 1.5 beats long. So this would be and 4 and, which leads us into beat 1 of the first full measure of the song. Because of this pickup measure, we're going to start with an upstroke, and that's also notated on the sheet music by the V symbol. The V stands for upstroke, and the top part of a box or square stands for the downstroke. For this music, all of your pick directions are going to be notated, and you're going to see those all throughout the music. If you ever see a double down, then follow that. It's in there for a reason. I'm not going to go too deep into why that is right now. However, follow those double downs. Everywhere else, if it doesn't give you a symbol, that means it's just back and forth. Down, up, down, up, down, up. We will be starting with an upstroke, and we just have part of a scale. So we've got C sharp, upstroke, open D string, first finger, and then we get into our first double stop of the song, which is going to be your F sharp on top and your D on the bottom. And we're going to play that as it's written in the music, first finger and third finger. So your first finger is going to come here to the F sharp 4th fret of the D string. Your third finger is going to come over here to the D, the 7th fret on your G string. you're gonna play both of these notes together, and you wanna make sure that you hit both of them and that you're pressing these strings down all the way. It's even harder to press down your strings and to get the sustain that we're looking for in notes when you have 2 fingers pressed down. So really be intentional with that. You want both of these notes to ring out, and you want to be able to hear both of them. So if you're trying to play this and one of those notes is not sounding quite right, then take a moment, play each of them individually, and see if you can get it pressed down all the way. 9 out of 10 times I would say you're probably not pressing down the string hard enough. And the closer you are to the actual fret line, the easier it's going to be to get that nice clear sound that we're going for. Next, we're going down to the C sharp again, 6th fret of the G string with our 2nd finger. And then we are back to standard first position with the E. Then we have our next double stop. And when you're just playing it by itself, yes, it sounds wrong. It sounds like something's not quite right, but don't worry, when you play it in context, it'll sound great, and it does resolve itself as the song moves on. If you're looking at the sheet music, there is a symbol called a natural sign by that C. What the natural sign does is it neutralizes any sharps or any flats that might have been in your key signature. So we said at the beginning we have an F sharp and a C sharp. Because of this natural sign, that natural sign is telling us, okay, I'm neutralizing the C sharp. The C sharp no longer exists. This is a normal C. The natural sign lasts for that whole measure, and then after that measure is over, we'll go back to our C sharps. So we've got F sharp, C natural. We're gonna keep going. We've just got standard 8th notes here. Now we're on to measure 2, and this is a double stop, but it's an easier double stop because we have 1st finger here on the 2nd fret of the D string, and then just our open G string. Super simple. So here on the 2nd measure, we have our first tie, and a tie looks like that little smile there connecting the 2 notes, the 2 B's or 4th frets together. So what a tie does is it ties the 2nd note to the 1st note, meaning that we are going to play the 1st note, we're going to strike that 1st note, but we're not going to hit it again after that because it's connected to the next, the other B after that. So you're going to hit it and you're going to count that other B rhythmically, but you're not going to hit it again. So anytime you see that where you have a curved line connecting 2 of the same note, that's what it means. It's called a tie, and you just pluck the 1st note out of the pair. We're going to keep going. Now we are on the 2nd line of music, the 3rd measure, and we have 2 open strings. Yay! Really easy. Your hand gets a little bit of a break here. Here we have the C sharp 6th fret to the 2nd fret, B. And if you can, keep that 3rd finger down while you're playing this because we're going to come right back to it. So if you can keep this 3rd finger down while you play that 2nd fret note, then all you have to do is lower that 3rd finger down a fret and then place your 2nd finger on the 4th fret of the D string, and you've got your next chord. Otherwise, if you're picking up that 3rd finger, you've got to make up the distance and find where you're going next. And it's just a little bit less efficient than just keeping it there and sliding it down. It'll also give you more sustain this way. Now we have an E and a B, 2nd fret, 4th fret. Now we are coming up to a double D. If you're confused by this, I might be confused too if this was my first time seeing it. But don't worry, it's nothing too complicated. What you're gonna do, one of those Ds is gonna be your open string. In order to play another D, you're gonna come all the way to the 7th fret on the D string. I'm sorry, not the D string, the G string. We've got open D and then 7th fret on the G string. So that's gonna be another D. They are the exact same note. You're gonna play these together. There you go. And then our next chord, we have a C sharp and a G natural. So here we are. This is another one of those chords. We have a lot of these in this song where it kind of sounds wrong, but it's not. It's supposed to have that dissonant sound. And here, now we are repeating back to where we started. So now we are just going to repeat from the beginning of the song. You're going to keep going in your music, but it's the same as what we played in the beginning. Here, at the end of the 6th measure is where it gets a little bit different. So we're going to walk it up. Same double stop, that was at the beginning of the song. We've got our G here, 5th fret. And then we've got A and F sharp down in 1st position. Open strings, D and A. Okay, so that is the whole first part of the song. And now we are moving into the chorus. This is my favorite part. We're starting with another scale. And now in measure 9, the 4th line, we get to our dreaded bar chord. If you practice this, build up those finger muscles, you will get this. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna bar, and that means that I'm gonna take my first finger, I'm gonna make it parallel with the fret lines, okay? Completely parallel. And in fact, I'm not using the tip of my finger at all. You wanna be on the fleshy back part of your finger. And I'm gonna take my thumb, it's normally here, I'm gonna take that all the way under, so that way my hand can be parallel. And that also means that our contact point here is coming off for this bar chord. You're gonna bar the 4th fret on the G string and D string. And then you're gonna add your 2nd finger on the 5th fret. So just these 2 fingers, 1st finger barring, 2nd finger here. Okay? Practice this. Practice getting it where every single note is ringing out. Give your hand a break, because it does get a little challenging to keep pressed down for a long time. But then I would practice going from the note before that, getting into this position, playing the chord. That way you can smoothly transition into this chorus. The next note is your C sharp, 4th fret on the A string in 1st position. And then we've got a lovely 3-note chord. However, it's just your open strings with that same note. So G string, D string. Walk it down. Open D and A strings. Now we repeat the beginning of this chorus. Same bar chord. Same chord. Now we have 1st finger, 2nd finger here. This is in measure 12, beginning of the 2nd page, if you're looking at the tablature. If you just got the sheet music, measure 12. So here you're gonna keep the 2nd finger down on the 4th fret of the G string, and you're gonna change your 3rd finger here on the 5th fret. So those first 2 double stops, you've got this one, second finger stays down at third. Okay? Now we get this lovely open A chord. And there's two ways you could play this. You could play two fingers smashed together on the second fret of the G string and D string. A lot of times I'll do this because my fingers can fit. However, if that does not work for you, then just use first finger. And you can either, if your hand is big enough, you can put your first finger down on top of both of those strings, or you could bar it. Those are your options for that chord. And then we've got open A. And then we've got lovely open D chord. Here, first finger is on the second fret of the E string, open D string, open A string. You're just gonna hop this finger over to the A string. Play all of your strings, super easy. And then we're gonna keep going. Open D, open A. And then we've got this chord, or double stop. And then open A string here on top. And then we have that double D again on the bottom of this last chord. So that's the 7th fret on the G string, everything else open. Let it ring out as long as possible. Hold the moment. And there you have it. That is all of Danny Boy. And I hope that you enjoy playing this. I think this is such a great tune for the mandolin. I do want to say a couple of general things as you're learning this arrangement. The first is sustain. This song especially, we have a lot of notes that are held out. We have a lot of double stops, a lot of chords. You want those notes to ring out. If they're not ringing out, it's gonna sound kind of dead. It's not gonna have the same sound as if all of the notes were sustained. So that means really making sure that you're pressing down your fingers all the way, keeping them held down as long as possible while you're changing notes. A great thing you can do to see if you're doing this is record yourself. I know recording yourself can be really cringy. I know, I get it, but it's so helpful. So if you're working on this and you think you're holding down your notes all the way, record yourself, listen back and see if there are any pauses, any gaps in your sound, and that'll tell you right there if you're holding them down or not. The other just general thing I want to say with this is be gentle, be light with it. This is a really pretty song. You know, we're not banging on our instrument trying to get the notes out. You want it to be really light. And that means the right hand has to be relaxed. Yes, I say it all the time, but the right hand has to be relaxed in order for it to have that really just light, relaxed, pleasant sound. You want your audience to be at ease, not uptight listening to you play this. So make sure, especially as you're learning this, as much as possible that you're staying relaxed. And I know we do have a lot of double stops. We have a lot of 3-4 note chords in this arrangement. And sometimes I think people feel like they really have to, in order to make those sound, they really have to dig into the string to let those chords ring out, but that's really not the case. You can actually play those chords really, really lightly, and it's still gonna sound fine. And for most of these chords, you don't have to play all of the strings at once. It's not the same as playing your chalk chord or something like that. It's okay to hit each of the strings one at a time. The difference of this rolling the chord and then this playing everything at once. Hopefully you can hear the difference between those two. And the first one just sounds a little bit gentler and softer. Okay, for you overachievers out there, I do have a couple of little extra add-ons if you wanted to spice up this arrangement a little bit. I did this unintentionally when I played it all the way through, but in case you're wondering what I did, there were a couple places. So measure 6, we have what's written. If you want to add a little extra something, then you can add a little triplet right there. So I'm playing the chord in measure 6. I'm going up to this F sharp, back down, and then playing the open D. It's very, very small, just adds a little extra flavor to the song right there. And then in measure 9, if you want to add a hammer on, you can do that right there. Very last note of measure 9, you play your open A, hammer on to that B. So if you did that, you would be playing A again, hammer on. And then the last place that I added something was measure 14. Right at the beginning of measure 14, we have this open, double stop, and if you add, so again, we're going up one note, so first finger, back to open, not plucking that. Again, super, super tiny. No, do not feel like you have to add this whatsoever. This is just something for those overachievers that want to take this to the next step. You can add those, play around with those if you would like, but there you go. Okay, well, I think that will be it for this arrangement. Thank you guys so much. And as always, feel free to leave comments, questions. I'll do my best to get back with you about those, and happy learning.